Hello, I'm going to read Elie Wiesel's The Gates of the Forest. I met him once after I had read this. He came to Emory and he signed it for me. I told him that reading these conversations was like finding friends in a world that was really troubled. So he wrote, "For Melissa, here are the friends." Elie Wiesel, October 87. So Gates of the Forest is about Gregor, a young Hungarian Jew hiding from the Nazis in the forest in small towns of Eastern Europe, allows another refugee to sacrifice himself in his stead. A steed, I guess. From that point on, Gregor struggles to find redemption and to understand the meaning of his own guilt. As he escapes annihilation and survives, one question recurs: how to live in a world that God has abandoned. Chapter 1. He had no name. You can see I've earmarked several pages. It's been in storage all these years, and I'm glad to get my friends back. He had no name, so he gave him his own. As a loan, as a gift, what did it matter? In time of war, every word is as good as the next. A man possesses only what he gives away. Gregor loved and hated his laugh, which was like no other, which did not even resemble itself. Imagine a life and death struggle between two angels, the angel of love and the angel of wrath, the angel of promise and the angel of evil. Imagine that they both attain their ends, each one victorious. Imagine the laugh that would rise above their corpses as if to say, "Your death has given me birth. I am the soul of your conflict, its fulfillment as well." The laugh of the man who had saved his life. It was a moonless night. It had rained the day before, and because they felt at ease there, the clouds refused to leave the patch of sky above the houses huddled together in the town below. Later, Gregor understood why. They were not clouds, properly speaking, but Jews driven from their homes and transformed into clouds. In this disguise, they were able to return to their homes where strangers now lived. He was about to fall asleep when he heard an unfamiliar sound in the forest. He jumped from his cot and went to the opening of the cave. Tense, he listened. Was it the clouds? They were making no sound, at least not yet. Then what was it? His eyes wide open saw into the darkness. Solitude had taught him to use his senses, to let them guide him, to become an animal ready to jump, ready to run. He stopped thinking, stopped remembering. He no longer lived outside his body. Where had the sound come from? Now it was gone. A mistake, a false alarm. Back to sleep. A damp wind was whistling among the trees. Nothing more? Nothing more. Nevertheless, he remained on the alert. He loved the night, his ally. He loved the clouds which weighed upon that night. In any case, he could no longer fall asleep. He cursed the wind for blowing too loudly. War had taught him to curse. And so he waited, listening for the slightest murmur of the woods, where behind every tree he could sense a presence in the night. As a child had been afraid of the forest even in daytime. He had been told that it was inhabited by savage wolves that took your life, by bloody creatures that robbed you of your pride, by evil beings sent down to earth to turn men from their way, blinding their vision and draining their passion for life. Now that he was no longer a child, the forest gave Gregor a sense of security. When he stroked the bark of the pine trees, he felt close to the earth. When he listened to the rustling leaves, he understood that man's secret outlives man. He had learned that the forest, the true forest, is the one that drives wolves mad and makes men thirst for blood and compassion. There was no use running away from this forest. It is everywhere, separating man from the image of his destiny and from the death of his destiny. Who opened your eyes, Gregor? He did. Did it hurt? Yes and no. Gregor started. Footsteps. He heard them quite clearly. I wasn't dreaming. Someone is there. Someone is looking for me. He glanced at the luminous dial of his watch. 2:10. He knew the time even though he didn't know what day it was. It could have been Friday or Sunday. What did it matter? He was living in a time of war outside of time. How long had he been in the cave? He did not remember. His father had promised to come back in 3 days. Gregor had counted 3 days and then 3 more days. After that, he had stopped counting. His father had gone away and taken the numbers with him forever. The footsteps were drawing closer. The crackling sound was clearer. Gregor's eyes searched the darkness and found nothing, only anguish. He tried to chase it away, to beguile it, saying over and over to himself, "You're not afraid. No, you're not afraid." A boy, 17 years old, isn't afraid of night or of the unknown. If you are shivering just a little, it's because of the cold. If you are stiff, it's because you have no reason to move. If you are holding your breath, it's not for fear of breathing too hard, but rather to hear the mysterious sound of night penetrating the forest. Two creatures embracing. Sometimes they hurt each other and the earth gives forth a very gentle moan. Sometimes they caress and their song shakes the trees. That is why you are holding your breath, to listen, and also to seize their song and surrender yourself to it. You're not afraid, are you? Gregor isn't afraid of anything, not yet. Gregor is old enough to recognize the exact moment when fear rises, whip in hand, and beats his heart as if to force him to live and to accept himself. Yes, Gregor is also old enough to bar the way, isn't he? I'm not afraid. I hate fear. It's degrading. Gregor talked to himself and trembled. Nights are cold in Transylvania in the spring. The footsteps now seemed very close. Since sounds in the forest are deceiving, Gregor did not know where to place them. Could it be Father? No, impossible. Father would not come back, never. He was punctuality itself, incapable of making a mistake or of telling a lie. If he had not come, it was because he had changed. He must be in a world where numbers kill, where promises enclose emptiness. In the past, Gregor had thought his father was all-powerful and unshakable, clear-headed, in a way that both comforted and terrified those who loved him, those who feared him. They all clung to him, to his words, to his vision. In his presence, they felt pure, strong, and invincible. He spoke little, but what he said had the ring and conviction of truth. He used to say, "Tomorrow will be a fine day," and the sun obeyed, and he said, "Whoever walks toward the spring becomes the spring," and so they walked. But then he also had said, "I'll be back in 3 days," and is somewhere else. Gregor remembered his father's last words: "Under no circumstances open your mouth or otherwise betray your whereabouts." But the waiting and uncertainty were more than he could bear, and he was tempted to disobey. "I'm going to scream." "You didn't keep your promise. Why should I keep mine?" Time once more existed. "Who's there?" he said in Hungarian. His voice echoed first in the cave and in the forest, leaping from tree to tree, from cloud to cloud. And yet he had only whispered. "Who's there?" he repeated. Silence, nothing, night, clouds, the forest, and his pounding heart, crouching behind a big tree which concealed the opening of the cave. Gregor held his breath. He did not move, nor did the other. They couldn't see each other. Is he also afraid? Is it his fear that makes me tremble and doubt? The other started walking. "Stop!" called out Gregor in a panic. "Stop there. Don't come closer. I forbid you to take another step." The other continued to come closer, but Gregor still could not figure out where he was. At times it seemed to him as if the forest were filled with a nocturnal hunter, each of them like the angel of death, with 1,000 eyes to strangle man's voice and to deform his body. This is my punishment, Gregor thought. I disobeyed my father. I'm going to be punished. Words now surged up from his throat, and he could not control them. Who are you? What do you want? Who sent you here? Whom are you looking for? Where are you going? Who's calling you, and who's with you? Carelessly, he stuck his head out of the cave. 1,000 thoughts crossed his mind. Was it a policeman making his rounds? A peasant who would blackmail him? A wanderer? A shepherd out at night? The unknown terrified him. As soon as danger will be there before him, identified with a face on it, he would lose his fear and recover his freedom. That's why he cried out again, angrily, in German this time. "Enough! If it's me you're looking for, come. I'm here. I'm waiting for you." Then for the first time he heard the laughter. Gregor shuddered and his legs became weak. Behind every tree and within every shred of cloud someone was laughing. It was not the laughter of one man, but of 100, of 7 times 700s. He wanted to stop up his ears. The man wanted to drive him to insanity. "Stop! Stop laughing!" he shouted, still in German. "I'm alone and the war is still raging. It will go on, and I shall be more and more alone. Be quiet, will you? Listen to the war. You won't laugh any longer." There was a lengthy silence. Suddenly the clouds seemed thicker, undoubtedly a transport of Jews coming back from far away to light the fires in their homes. "I'm listening to the war and I'm laughing." Gregor couldn't believe his ears. The voice, which was now very close, had spoken Yiddish, not Hungarian or German, but Yiddish. I've decided once and for all not to weep, the voice added. To weep is to play their game. I won't. Now it was Gregor's turn to feel like laughing. Why hadn't he thought of it? It was all so simple. A Jew like himself, fleeing from fate in search of underground shelter, a place in which to hide himself from the piercing stare of death. A Jew who refused to disguise himself as a cloud. What about you? The other was asking. Do you like to cry? And he laughed again. Gregor paused for a moment before coming out of the cave, not in order to see the stranger, but rather to show himself and lead the other toward him. He did not answer the last question, but said in a slightly trembling voice, Whoever you are, wherever you come from, come here. I have a safe hiding place with room enough for both of us. Then, realizing that he had spoken German, he quickly added, Don't be afraid, I'm a friend. A friend. Yes, a friend, said Gregor in Yiddish. Gregor was standing in the open, a few steps from the tree. Suddenly he turned. The other was there behind him. His shadow covered the forest. So you're a Jew also, the stranger said. Yes, you knew? No, I didn't. Why did you laugh then? Because I didn't know, that's why. I thought I was the only one left, the last survivor. That gave me a right to laugh, didn't it? He was taller than Gregor and slightly stooped, as if he were carrying a weight upon his shoulders or trying not to touch the clouds. Come, said Gregor, let's go in. It's not wise to stay out here. He took the other's arm and led him into the cave, to the corner where he had put up the cot. They sat down side by side. We can't light anything, said Gregor to start a conversation. They'd see it from down below. All right, but that doesn't prevent you from smoking. I don't smoke. I do. Go ahead then. You're sure it won't bother you? Quite sure. At home, Gregor never smoked. His father didn't allow it, but having found some cigarettes in the knapsack, along with the food, he had begun to smoke, especially at night, concealing the flare of the match in the palm of his hand. How old are you? Gregor told him. You're very young. How long have you been in hiding? I don't really know. Days, weeks. I've forgotten how to count. And before? Did you know how to count before? I'm not sure. I see. Sometimes I watch the sun rise and set, but it no longer marks the passage of time. If the sun were to stop, it wouldn't surprise me. It has become a stranger to the earth. It warms out of the habit or out of boredom. People don't interest it any longer. You talk as if the sun were a wise god, but the gods have chosen madness. There was a trace of irony in his voice. It seemed to affirm and deny the conclusion. Everything is true and everything is a lie. Men love and kill one another. God bids them pray, and yet their prayers change nothing. Where do you come from? Gregor asked. Over there. Where exactly is over there? Over there, I'll tell you, everywhere, on the other side. Gregor did not insist. He did not want to upset him. To each his zone of silence, he changed the subject. What's your name? I haven't any. Gregor couldn't help showing surprise. Everybody has a name. True, but I've lost mine. He laughed without malice and went on. My name left me. You might say that it's dead. It went away one day, without reason, without excuse. It forgot to take me along. That's why I have no name. Of course, I looked for it, but without success. Do you understand? No, said Gregor. He had understood the words, but not their meaning. They had a sad and beautiful sound, but they didn't make sense, really. You don't understand, said the visitor, half angry, half joking. You don't see how such a thing can happen, and to anyone. In a time of war, millions of men live under false names. There is a divorce between man and his name. Sometimes the name has had enough and goes away. Is that so hard to imagine? Yes, it is, said Gregor, overcome by a vague uneasiness. Then let me explain. Names played an important part in creation, didn't they? It was by naming things that God made them. True? True, murmured Gregor. You admit, then, that a name has a fate of its own, independent of the life and the fate of its bearer. Sometimes a name ages, falls ill, and dies much before the man who bears it. Well, my name deserted me. Now do you understand? He's making fun of me, Gregor thought with irritation. He talks so that I won't understand him, and laughs so that I'll doubt his sanity and my own. All right, you've lost your name. Is that it? Gregor exclaimed indignantly. But before you lost it, what was it then? You want to know too much, said the stranger gently. My name was written and pronounced in different ways. It had an uninhabited imagination, and when it took flight, nothing could stop it. Men and things weren't enough. It rose above them. It was free. It still is, but I'm not. A mysterious weight fell upon Gregor. I'm dreaming, he said to himself. Or else he's mad. That voice of his, it must come from another world. The things he's been through must have affected his mind and disconnected him from all reality, past, present, future. What was he to do? What was the right approach? How could he be assured? Suddenly, Gregor felt sad. He thought, someday I'll be like him, surrounded by sadness. Someday I'll be someone else. Are you hungry? He asked. The nameless man was not hungry. Thirsty? I can make you some coffee. He was not thirsty, and coffee did not tempt him. Tired then? Do you want to lie down to sleep? No. Do you feel like talking? Talking? Why? For whom? For what? I have nothing to say. He lay down on his back and retreated into a meditation from which Gregor was excluded. He sat upon another cot, stretched out, and pretended to sleep. How could he understand someone whose door is open to delirium, to denial? Someone who pushed him away, who made fun of him. Much as I admired my father, I didn't understand him either, but that was different. He did everything he could to explain, to make sure that, in the future at least, I would come to understand him. As for my mother, I understood her even at an age when I couldn't recognize my own image in a mirror. Soon the war will be over. Will I still be able to understand someone whose life is different from my own? With his eyes open and his senses aching from awareness, Gregor saw himself in the future, telling a friend or perhaps his children of this strange meeting with a man whom he didn't know and would probably never know. I saved the life of a madman who had lost contact with his land and his name. At this thought, Gregor couldn't help laughing. What is a madman? Someone who has lost his name. Grandfather, with his beard whiter and his eyes more gleaming than ever, was there listening to him as well, although the old man had died 10 years ago. His presence didn't surprise him. In the boy's mind, his grandfather was still alive, as was his joy. The night before, in a dream, his grandfather had said angrily, "You're letting yourself go, and I don't like it. You must fight against sadness. It weakens you and paves the way for death. You'll be lost unless you overcome it." His grandfather had been a Hasid and an enthusiastic follower of Rebbe of Wisnitz, for whom song was an instrument of battle. One day the old man had taken his grandson aside and talked to him in a way that was to influence his future. "Later on, when I'm no longer of this world, I want you to remember me and the flame which makes me live. I am a farmer, and so I know the usefulness of a gentle rain that causes wheat and the other fruits of the earth to grow. But the human soul isn't like the earth. The soul needs storm and fire and dizziness. The body has time. It moves slowly and prudently, step by step, in obedience to laws of gravity. But the soul brushes time and laws aside. It wants to push forward, regardless of cost and pain, or intoxication, or even madness. That is the only way it has of raising itself to God. On your way through life, you'll meet men who cling to reason, but reason gropes like a blind man with a white cane, stumbling over every pebble, and when it comes up against a wall, it stops short and tries to tear it down brick by brick, quite ineffectually, because an invisible hand builds it up again, higher and thicker than ever. We, on the other hand, believe in the power of faith and ecstasy, and no wall can stand against us. With our fists and our songs, we bring it crashing down. Gates do not frighten us. Cause, my child, listen to this. Other people open their eyes wide to see God, but we close them. Yet these others attract darkness while we laugh at it until it follows rather than precedes us." His grandfather's face lit up and he stroked his beard. "Do you understand?" he went on. "The gleam in the eye of a tzaddik is a surer guide than all the science and theories invented by men have become victims and creators of their own pride." His grandfather, who had died 10 years ago, listened to his story and said nothing. "You were right, grandfather. During the war, I met a madman who had lost all ties to man and to the meaning of words. You would have liked him, I know it." His grandfather smiled and asked, "Are you so sure he was mad? Perhaps he was a messenger looking for a message, and for that reason he had neither home nor name. He was one of those dreamers who wander on mountainsides or roads or the world over, who have chosen exile in order to detach themselves from time and to exercise it. Are you sure, my child, that he was mad?" The stranger was breathing lightly, and Gregor thought that he had fallen asleep. In spite of the danger, he very nearly struck a match in order to see him, if only for a second, to take in the shape of his face and his features. It may be that we look alike, and that the sight of him will frighten me. Something in Gregor already knew that he would meet him again at an important moment in his life. He was going to get up quietly, but the stranger wasn't sleeping. "What's your name?" the stranger asked him. He hesitated for a moment before replying. "Gregor, my name's Gregor." He was lying, and the stranger knew it. "That's not a Jewish name." "But I am a Jew." "Your name isn't that of a Jew. You must have another name that is closer to you." "True, but it's undercover, and that's where it must stay. Your name left you, and mine has gone into hiding, like myself. On that score, we're even, you and I. Are you afraid of me?" "No, I'm not afraid." "Are you angry?" "I don't know what it is to be angry." "You'll find out." "Perhaps I'm not afraid of anger." They were silent, and Gregor wondered if the other's eyes were open. "Tell me your name," the visitor said. "No, I must not. As long as the war lasts, I must not say it aloud. I can keep silent. That's what I can do best. I can keep my mouth shut, even under torture, or open my mouth and say nothing. Tell me your name. I'll keep it to myself." He broke off, half smiling, half serious. "You think I'm mad, don't you?" Without waiting for an answer, he went on. "I know, I understand your silence. You think I've lost my mind. Suppose it's true. That's all the more reason for telling me your name. I won't give it away. In times like these, madmen are our only friends. They don't kill us in the name of beliefs or ideas. They're on our side, and they get themselves killed." Gregor was overcome by emotion. It was as if he had heard his voice before and what it was saying. In another life, perhaps. "This isn't our first meeting," he said to himself. "He knows my name. He is questioning me to test me." "My name is that of an angel," he murmured. "The angel Gabriel." The stranger gave a sad little laugh. "Do you know what that means? Man of God. An odd name, isn't it? It teaches us that what we call angels are only men. There are no real angels. And men? Oh, there are men, all right, unfortunately for the angels and for ourselves. And what is worse is that they are real." Suddenly he fell asleep. Winner or loser, Gregor didn't know. He could still see his grandfather's lips moving as they said, "Don't be afraid, my child. Madmen are just wandering messengers, and without them the world couldn't endure. Without them there would be no surprise. They surprise even the Creator because they escape from Him and regard Him with pity. Their mission on earth, to persuade us that we don't know how to count, that numbers deceive and trap us. Are you listening?" And heavy-heartedly Gregor answered, "Yes, grandfather, I'm listening. I think I've lived only for this encounter and for this night." He could hardly hear him whispering. "That, my child, is true of all encounters, of every night." "Tell me, do you know how to count?" Gregor asked the stranger in anguish. The other did not answer right away. Finally he said with a sigh, "Yes, I know how to count. Unfortunately for men and for angels." The morning wind slipped into the cave and began to whip the shadows. That's the end of chapter 1. Maybe I'll read chapter 2 tomorrow. If you want to join me, you can. I feel like this is a time when madmen are loosed upon the earth, mad men and mad women, and I might be one of the mad women. I don't know. We have to listen to the madness for the message, because the times that are supposed to make sense are really the times of war and sadness and grief. Good night.